have one more party. There's more hell we should be raising. One more party now, one more party tonight.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our regular Friday night Birds and Blooms. Goes up live, not live, goes up to YouTube every Friday at 8 o'clock. On Monday, when we do our lives over on the Facebook group, we did a bullfinch, a male bullfinch. Actually, this is a pair of bedside cabinets. So obviously the pair, they have two doors, and the male bullfinch is on the other door, and I've just finished this lady bullfinch on this door. Thank you. Here's the fellow me laddie, the chap, and there's his good wife there. So they're looking at each other, which is what I wanted. They look to be in some sort of leaf type thing with the sky here, and they're both relatively similar so far. We want to keep that similarity. We want to have a theme. I'm not going to put one type of flowers on him and different on her. They're going to be the same sort of thing. But we'll make a start on the lady. So the first thing to do, I think, is to ground her. She's got no legs at the moment. And it's questionable whether she will actually ever need legs, because it depends where I put the flowers around her. But we do need to give the impression of something that she could possibly be sitting on. So I've mixed up a fairly sort of nondescript colour here of all sorts of colours that I had left, which is a sort of, it's a brown. I've mixed up so many colours, I've got a mud colour. So I'm just going to get some of that on my brush and just going to put some lines in, up sort of through where she could possibly be standing, and bring them out the other side, so she's possibly standing up on something like that sort of thing. Do we need the light on? No, I think we're probably better off during the day with no light on, really. It saves it glaring up. If it gets a bit too dark, if I go on too long, we'll put the light on. So I'm just going to add some green stems to those as well. Now, today for this, I'm using the golden open acrylics. These ones look for all the world like the heavy-bodied acrylics, in the same tube, etc. But the bottom part is black and it says open and slow drying acrylics, and that's what we're after today. We're after something that's going to be slow drying to allow us to achieve some of the effects that we want to achieve on the flowers. So next question is, where are we going to put the flowers? And I think the best thing to do is probably draw out where we want them. Give us a rough idea of where we're heading. I'm going to make the flowers white. It's just that the man bullfinch has got such a ruddy coloured chest, and this one's got such a white, yellow chest. I've got a blue sky, I've got green here, I need something different. So white, I've opted for white. So I think I'll put one blossom here, one flower here, in that sort of area, and up behind his tail, her tail, I'm going to put one more here. Now it might not be facing this way, it might be facing away from her, but roughly there anyway. And then coming down here, well, we need some, I'll put one up there absolutely next to her, almost over her, but not quite. It's worth taking a while here just to get your get your composition how you want it. And I'll put one here, but I'll make it facing down. And then happy with that there. So perhaps another one here. And that's probably all that we need for the actual flowers. I'll probably end up putting a downward facing one there, and then some smaller bits around and about, maybe a little bit up here. I don't really want to stop her gaze over to a hubby. I wanted to be able to see hubby. So yeah, I think that might be alright there. I'll just put a little bit of an idea of one in there. Well, let's go with that and see where we end up. So the first thing to do is put in your base coat, and for this I'm rinsing my brushes out not in water but in fluid retarder. As soon as you introduce water into the open paint, it reduces the open time of the paint to that of water. So it's pointless. It's pointless buying the open paints if you're going to use water to rinse your brushes off with, because you've lost the potency of them. So let's put in the flowers just with this background colour that I'd mixed up before, this sort of browny sort of colour. We'll have a bit of a clue of one there maybe, and this one's going to be turned up this way. I'm going to need to mix some more of this sort of weird browny background colour. It really was a mixture of sort of everything I had left really, so it's not a specific colour. That might be a bit on the red side, so let's tone that down with a bit of green. If that ever happens to you, if something gets too red, tone it down with a bit of green, because it's complementary colour, so they'll cancel each other out. Similarly, if it's too green, you can knock it out with a bit of red. So let's just put in the idea of where these are actually going to go. Shorter here. If you bring the centre down, it automatically turns it away. We said we'd have one here. I'm putting two strokes of this brush that I'm using per sort of petal. This is a filbert. It's a Zen Art filbert number 4. It's quite a small brush, but these flowers, you see, when you get to here now, I've got a decision to make. Do I leave that as a gap, which I could, or do I just add another petal on, which is what I'm going to do. So there we are. That'll all become, it's all going to be messed with loads before it's finished, so we'll be fine with that. 2 strokes per petal. They don't have to be, as you can see, that they're not the same sort of. Now then, let's pull that in there. Pull that in. That will all become clearer, won't we? Clearer in the wash, as they say. All come clean in the wash. So all we're doing is just adding a background really for our flowers. Make sure that you get plenty of this paint on, because it sort of depends on it. The picture depends on it. I brush from the outside in. It's absolutely up to you. You can equally do the inside out. It's just when I'm using a filbert, you've got such a nice rounded edge that it seems a shame not to use it. So down here where it's turned, you just want smaller petals. Here I'm just going to put the idea of one like that, and maybe down here just a little idea of one, and here. We've lost this one at the top completely, so I think that's not a bad composition. When we get everything put in, I think that'll look quite nice. So I'm just going to clean my brush out in the retarder, and I'm coming back for white. Bring over here so you can see how I load my brush. That's just like far too much. So load your brush up like that, and then we'll go through the order that we did them in before. And you can see the colour that we've used behind becomes quite significant now, as the white picks it up as it goes through it. And you can alter that. You can alter that also by adding something else apart from that colour. Say for example we wanted a more sort of greeny hue to that. But pick up some green and just add little bits of green around there. You'll see now when I come to do that, well, the white's picked it up straight away, but and this is nice, this sort of veining that you get, if you like, on the petals, and that's because we've just put this green down. It's got mixed up with the white in my brush, and it's laying it down, which is very, very pretty. So now you're getting the idea of what's going on really. Now for this one, let's just do the same thing again. Let's just add a little bit of green. I rather like that effect. Just going to wipe that off, otherwise it's going to be too green. Load your brush up. And you see there where we're running out of paint, you get this lovely sort of not really there look, which is very nice. I like that. Come up to the sides here, and it just goes there, just tucks underneath her. Oh, just wanted to add some green. Wipe that off, back into the white. You see this sort of difference in strokes you get depending on how much paint you've actually loaded onto your brush and the colours that you might have put down for the top colour, the white, to pick up. So let's add some more green here, and then let's load our brush with the white. So you see there's nothing mystical about these. The only thing that I would say that happens that you're probably not prepared for is that the final colour depends on the first colour that you put down, not on the last colour, which is kind of different to what you might expect. A bit more green, add it to here, just randomly. Now with these flowers you can honestly play with them for forever, till you get them exactly how you want them, but I'll give you the shortened version of forever. You can see that there's some of the background colour still poking through there. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I quite like it actually. It gives a bit more depth to the flower. a little little one heading off to the side. And a little bit more green on here. Because the green that I'm putting on could be any colour. If you've decided that you want your flowers to be pink, then use quinacridone magenta or something like that to get pulled through. I'm just using green because I'm making white flowers, and I think green looks quite natural on them. This is just a little one, just heading off the canvas. Well, the alternative canvas. So that's great. That's the first coat down. It's looking good. I think it needs all the centres put in, and it needs a bit more light and dark. This one, for example, is very, I mean, I want that one to be in your face because it's right next to the bird's face, so that's really where I want to draw your attention to, right to this area here. But this needs more detail, and it's just very, very white and very samey. All the petals look really the same. So what we'll do now is we'll put the centres in, and that's quite good at giving us a bit more. It's a stronger indication where things are. Your eyes pick it up quite immediately. So it's to decide really what colour centres we want. I think yellow would be quite nice. I mean, the alternatives are a dark brown. Well, the alternatives are whatever you choose to make it. You make it purple or whatever. But I think on this occasion, I'm going to make it quite a bright yellow because she's yellow ochre. So we'll get some of this Hansa yellow, load your brush with it, and we'll come and do the centres. Now it doesn't matter if your centre ends up too big, too small, too whatever. We're going to do quite a lot of work to this first, so before the finally set, so don't worry. This is a more oval centre. This one looks like it's got a centre. I might have to put another couple of petals on that. I think it's the
back of the centre though, isn't it?
Oh, it's the back. Ah, yeah, that's right. We decided to make it the back, didn't we?
It's drooping down.
Droopy draws. So just put some green in there, then I'll pick some white up and pull that down. You can see the lovely effect you get when you start mixing your colours up on your brush. So yeah, that's a back. We're looking at the back of that one, I think. Is what's going on there. I don't like these big gaps between these petals there. They look a bit unlikely. Right, okay, so the next thing to do is put a colour. Don't keep rinsing your brush off. It's not necessarily all the colours that we're using are going on there, so just wipe it off on a towel, nip it off really quite tightly. And now we're going to go into, I think, a burnt sienna. I think burnt sienna is a good colour to go around there. It'll be all right with her. And just tap around the centre like that, and then wipe that off and just pick that up, going up your petals. You don't need to press on very heavily, it does it automatically almost. So we'll just add some more to that because we've taken all that away. And quite a lot of wet paint in one part, so let's leave that to come to its senses for a minute and return to it when it's a bit dry. It goes tacky, it doesn't go dry, this open paint. So same thing here. Pull it out. You may want to pull it out more on some side, one side than the other. I think that other side doesn't really need pulled out. Around here. A bit down here. This is a darker one, a more moody one. I'm getting further away from our point of main focal point up here. And I don't think they need any. That's just the backs that we're seeing of those. Okay, so I think looking at it, what it needs is a darker colour, and I might come in with a dark green or a red, I would say, on my choices. Might come in with a bit of a dark green, but I'm just going to mix the tiniest little bit of red through there, just to brown it down a little bit. Like that. That's a very nice colour, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white. It's a nice dark colour, but it's perhaps just a little bit too dark. That's a nice light browning sort of colour, lovely colour for shading white. Just squeeze your brush off. So we need to have a look and have a think where we think there would be shadows occurring, and I think they might be coming down here. This side might be in shadow. And this side will be, definitely, because it's got the... It's just not quite dark enough. This side definitely will be, because it's got the bird looming over it. Alright, we'll try that. Try that, see where we get to. Yeah, that's better. So just add some shadows. And this is definitely going to be in shadow because it's absolutely under the bird. That's nice as it is. I'm going to leave that well alone. So we've addressed where we think the shadows would be, which is great. So it's now back to the white to bump up that the whiteness, the light intensity. So let's just come back over the top of that one. And this one. Need to make that a little bit brighter, I think. Want the light to play against the dark, really, in an ideal world. So we want some light down here. This is where the light is to be found. And you can go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as much as you like, really. select it. And we'll just give these just a bit of a lighten up. We're going to lose them otherwise. Okay, so we've got one here that we've messed up completely. So there, that's a suggestion of one. So I'm going to take some burnt umber actually and get some nice dark. Let's mix a little bit of green through that, so as we get a nice dark. That's a nice colour. So we'll come back in with some dark and we'll just play it up off there, building this shadow out. And here, just building the shadow out from the centre. Then we'll go back to the centre and really brighten that up and make it pop. So there are parts of these flowers that really are quite dark. You can use your finger just to slacken them, I'm tempted to say, make them looser, so you can't really sort of get that with a brush, but you can certainly get it with your finger, and it gives a very nice gentle, you can see how it achieves that. And this is why you really, if you're going to do this, you need the open paints, because you really can't do this with the ordinary heavy-bodied acrylics. It just needs a little help there, I think, to become a bit darker. So we're putting darks in, and of course we need lights. You know, you can't keep putting darks in and not put lights in. So we'll address that in a minute. Yeah, I think we're getting more, it's beginning to look more like flowers now. Now this one down here, I think needs just a bit of help. He's just looking a bit weak. So let's put some white in him. And let's pull that back up, that brown. Let's make this petal here and pull that shadow back up into him. There, that helps tremendously, I think. So just using our finger to blend. I think, you know, it does a really good job. So we want these ones to be very, very bright. This is where the light is on these ones. So plenty white on this. This is where the light's hitting this. Okay, so let's go. I'm just going to clean my brush in the fluid retarder. It's not often I clean my brush. Generally only if I want a very bright white or a colour that's that I don't want contaminated. So let's address these centres. They're very lost. They look the same colour as this. They really aren't. They really don't have any oomph about them. So let's use this this orange colour, which I forget what it's called now. Mars yellow, and we'll tap the centre in of those which should give it a bit of life. We can always come back over with some yellow, but I think we need a darker centre to start from, really, so as it really lifts it. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Wipe that off. Let's go for the red. I like red in the centre of flowers. I'm not sure how authentic it is, but I do like it. And just pull that away like that. Give it some interest. Pull it away, put it back in. All the time adding layers and depth to painting. So, okay. So I'd say what we need now are the nice highlights that are really going to bring this to life. Got lots of nice details going on in centres. We'll just leave this till it just starts to dry out a little bit, and we'll come back with some yellow on the centres of those. So I'm just going to clean my brush in the glue retarder because I want to come back with white, and I want it to be really nice bright white. So let's treat ourselves to some new white. There we are. So just come in just where you want the highlights to be. You can lift that up out of the centre there as well. You see, we're putting it on and then moving it around, and eventually you'll reach a stage where it's just perfect. But it does involve a bit of toing and froing. It's a really bright white there. It's nice when it picks up the centre colour. It just gives it a bit of, well, a lot of interest. And as you go on, you get more of the centre colour and less of the white, really. So you get a very nice, interesting, mottledy, mixed up sort of colour going on. Okay, so let's put the centres in again. See where we are. I don't like this very much, this one here. Something going wrong with him. Yeah, it's probably a bit better. Right, let's see when we get the centres on what we've got. Okay. So that's not so bad. I'll come back to the centres once I've started to dry a bit. In the meantime, let's just address the leaves. So we need some green, some yellow and some white. Oh, I've put some green out already, ahead of the game. So I've got some green, some dark green, good colour to start with. I'm just going to detail around this bird just to give him a bit of a highlight, really. It's dark green, but it will highlight him. Just come paint around the petals of your flower. I'm going to change my brush to a square, to a bright one with a square end. Make it a bit easier. So I'll just paint up to the petals in our flowers, just in the centre part here, and it'll make them pop a bit. You see already it does its job. There's a little section in here where these are almost touching. In fact, they probably are. I just want to define those a little bit more. And just bleed that off out of there, like that, and down here. Maybe that wants to come this far down. Okay, so you can see now we've got those much more clearly defined. So we're going to need a stem from there, stem from there, from there. We're going to need a little bit of greenery around here where it grows, and on this one here. Come down to that stem. This one's going to have a stem of sorts somewhere. And this one also going to have just that little bit of greenery that new buds have. So I'll probably start putting some leaves in. They won't be too clearly defined. Just we want to know that there are leaves there somewhere around. And then your eye makes up the rest. You can put some brighter colours in as well. Mix the green with some yellow, just to give a different hue to the green. Not sure that's enough of a different hue. I've got a very nice edge of the dark green going on there, which is giving me some nice leaf shapes. Mix some white with that and get a much lighter green. Oh, that's nearly the background. I want a lighter one than that. Let's start a bit of something and nothing going on. Yeah, I will read it as foliage. If you keep your greens mixed on your brush, then it comes off in different ways and it does look more like foliage. So I'll just put some little suggestions of leaves around here. Don't have to be too clever with it all. Like I say, the eye does actually begin to read green things as leaves. Let's put a little bit of white in there. Maybe some darkness as well, which picks the flowers up and adds interest to the flowers. So we're getting there, I think. Maybe a little leaf down here. I think your eye would read that as leaves and stems and the like. That's our stem to there and to there. I don't know whether to put a leaf up there really. Just to tie it in, just a little leaf coming off there. That's fine. That's probably all that's needed. Right then, let's have another look at finishing off these flowers. We're nearly there, we're on the home straight. So, centre, we've got them orange at the moment. We really need to brighten them up a little bit. So just take a little bit of your yellow, primary yellow, or whichever yellow you've got. It doesn't matter. And just dip them around like that so as you get some believable credible centre. Pick up a bit more yellow. I want to leave the darker colour around the edge if I can, but I also want to come back with the tiniest little bit of red just to, that one's oval, they always go oval if they're tilted backwards or forwards. Now this one, that's the back of the flower, but you still see sort of the back of the centre as well. So we'll use a little bit of the Mars yellow and a little bit of the yellow we've used for these centres, and just give them a bit of a centre in there. Because we know he has got a centre. So that's sufficient, I think. These ones, you can't see the centres in them, you just see in the backs. So let's now just pick up a bit of white and a bit of yellow. Mix them up so we've got a really bright yellow, and just go back in here and give these a real whack of interest. You do need the white with the yellow because the yellow is so transparent. Okay. Okay, so I think what we need now is just some hints of red around the outside of the centres. Maybe around the tiniest bit. I think we're not looking too bad really. So kind of be careful where you put this, because it can alter the tilt of your flowers. Just pull it out a little bit, give it a bit of shade. That's it. That's all we're aiming to do. You could use a deep purple for this, a blue even, or a green would look really nice. It's just to darken the centre. Okay, so I've transferred some green onto there. I think we're not bad at that. Have a look what that looks like on screen. Yeah, that looks fine. I think that's okay. I think we'll call that done. I will be doing the Daddy Blue Bullfinch as well. This is the Bullfinch for the Birds and Blooms video, YouTube video. The Birds and Blooms videos go live on YouTube on 7 o'clock. That's not right. 8 o'clock every Friday. So this is me. I've completed the female bullfinch. I'm now about to do the male bullfinch. So I want them to sort of match-ish. not exactly, but to have the same blooms in. Excuse me, I've got a frog in the throat. So just to give me a bit of a help, I'm just going to pencil in where I want these flowers to be. So on the other one, I've got the one here, which I quite like, and then I've got a sort of a one that got a bud. It's a bud up there. And I've got one at the tail end here. There's one here. And there's one here. More or less. I mean, it's, you know, I'm not going for an exact copy. Just as well. I'm hopeless at saying things in reverse. So there's another one down here. And there's a sort of sideways on one here, which will draw an oval for to represent that. There's a little bud down here and there's a little bud down here. So let's get cracking with the painting. So for this I'm going to use a short paint brush, and it is a 1/4 inch. Describes it as short flat. I would describe it as a short bright, but it's a short 1/4 inch brush with chisel end, and that's what I'm going to be using to put my flowers in. So I want a little bit of fluid retarder on my canvas, and I want some sort of mid browny greeny type colour just to put the background of these flowers in. I'll mix a little bit of brown, a little bit of raw umber, that is, burnt umber, sorry, and a little bit of the green in. And I'll just give an idea to where these flowers are. Okay, so I'm alright with that. This one is a complete one. So each petal's got two strokes. If you feel your paint tightening up, dip your brush back into the retarder. This is the golden open acrylics that I'm using for this one. Just add a little bit more retarder to that mix. What happens with this one? I think it all comes out. Yeah, the golden open, they are called open because they stay open, i.e. workable, for much longer than the ordinary golden heavy bodied. This one's sort of coming away from the heavy bodied acrylics. Absolutely beautiful, I love them, I really do. Mind you, I love all golden products, but they dry so very quickly. And when we are doing things here under the lights, we've got no chance. They just dry up on you so quickly. These oval shaped ones, they tend to have longer petals at the sides like that, and then shorter ones coming in like that, and that turns your flower for you. Then we've got a little bud down here, and we've got a whole one here. So I'm doing 2 strokes for each petal. You can do 3 if you want to, you can do 1 if you want to. This is just a suggestion. Now here I've got a gap, so I can either put an additional stroke down, or I could leave the gap. You know, sometimes there are gaps in flowers. I'm putting 3 down, and I'm sure it'll look fine when we're all finished. Okay, so now next thing you need is some white. Load your brush up well. Pinch clean it with a bit of kitchen towel. So we'll start up at the top here, and we'll pull that through. Some more white. Start here. and you'll see how it beautifully pulls that green through. So it's a white flower, quite definitely a white flower, but it pulls this green up so nicely to give it a bit of interest. So always head towards the centre. Is the secret. You see this lovely sort of veining that you get really with your brush with this when you put the white over the green. And you can do this with any colour. The last one that I did pink on the bottom, quinacridone magenta, and I went over it with white. And that gave me lovely pink flowers. I'm just going to go over that again, just starting to dry out a little bit, which kind of defeats the object of the exercise. Got a kind of weird colour going on here because I didn't wash my brush out. So back into the white. I'll go through these ones. Lots of white. Make sure, as I say, that you always head for the centre. And I'm noticing myself that going off sometimes. Even this flow extender's drying in this studio here. I'll do flower by flower, I think, now. I don't want it to dry. Don't want it to dry up because you just won't get that effect. This lovely, lovely effect. You can see I'm loading my brush and these little ones here to turn it on much shorter and swooped out to the sides. Let's put some more of our background on. If you don't put the background on, don't bother buying golden acrylics because there's nothing to be gained by it. But the golden open acrylics. What did I say, Mr. Handyman?
You just said the golden acrylics.
No, I'll show you in a second what they look like. They look very, very similar to the heavy body acrylics that we use all the time, but they have very different properties. And I've recently found the joys of a wet palette, which if I put my golden open acrylics into the wet palette, well, I can't tell you how long they last because I've only been using it a week, and the ones that I have in there are still lovely and wet. So all I can tell you with some degree of certainty is that they last a week. So just put some of that on there, pick up some white and stroke your little bud in like that. Same thing here. I think I'm not helping my cold really because I'm using a sort of non-traditional palette, if you like. I'm using a bedside cabinet door that's been painted in chalk paint canvas, yeah, which is kind of leaching away my... So there we are, there's the flowers put in very effortlessly, very easily I would say, and very, very effectively. I mean, we'll go on, we'll put the centres in, but fundamentally there's your flowers, and they're really, really not difficult. That's the trick that you need to know. Put something underneath that you're going to pull up with the white and give you this lovely look. Right, this is the wet palette. Mine's a bit messy because I picked it up by the side, so they all ran that way. And fundamentally what it is, it's this tray, plastic tray, and you get some sheets of this stuff, which is like absorbent It's like that stuff that you get underneath meat that you get pre-packed that absorbs the blood. In fact, I bet you it's the same thing. And you soak it in water, then you put this membrane over the top, put your paints on it. It's got a lid that you put on when you're not using them, and saves you a fortune in paint, because all of these would have gone out. And the golden opens. These are they. This one's burnt umber, and you can see from that point up it is identical to the heavy-bodied acrylics that we're used to using. But down here it's in black, and it clearly states open, slow-drying acrylics, which is what we're after. We need that to achieve the look that we're after with the flowers. Right, so let's put some centres in. Let's bring these to life a bit, put some centres in. So for that I'm going to use some of this Mars yellow. You could use yellow ochre, you could use burnt sienna, you could use purple, whatever. I've chosen to use this today. So put your centres in. It's got an oval centre. So there we are. We'll leave that just to dry a minute. It won't dry in a minute, but it will go tacky, slightly tacky. And we'll just address some of this green here, I think. I want a dark green under him, because he will be in his own shadow. So I'll just put some dark green right under him there. His leg is there, so I'll try and avoid that, but I can always paint it back in. I don't need any more leggage than what I've already got. I mean, it needs painting brown, but I don't need fancy talons and whatever. You can't see them, they're behind the flowers. Very decent of him. He's posed for us where we don't need to look at his feet. Decent little soul that he is. So that's sort of setting him in the scene, if you like. And here I've got some light blue showing from up above. I don't know why that's funny, but it is. So there we are. That's him sort of set back a bit there. Now let's just deal once again with these centres, and I'm going to get some yellow. It doesn't matter, primary yellow, Hansa yellow, any yellow. Dip your brush in it, and we'll just come and brighten up areas of these centres. Give them a bit of definition, a bit of interest. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of white through a little bit of yellow. The reason being, yellow, whichever yellow you get, will be transparent. All yellows are transparent. So if you mix a bit of opaque white through it, you've got more of a chance of being able to see it. And when you put it on, it will be brighter. So it will show up a little bit more. You're picking that up on the camera, Mr. Handyman. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're filming in daylight for a change rather than...
Yeah, it does make a big difference, doesn't it? The overhead lights just bleach it out, don't they? I quite like these flowers like this. What do you think, Mr. Handyman? Do you think they're in close enough match to the others though? To the ladybird.
You can be the judge of that.
Glory. Well, I quite like them. I'm going to put some dark in to the centres, and the dark that I've chosen to use is the same as the other bird. Is a red. It's a cadmium red dark. Costs a fortune. It's a series 9, so let's not waste it. I don't know if you're familiar with buying acrylics and what series actually means. All the professional artists' colours come in series 1 to 9. I don't think I've ever seen anything above a 9. Have you ever seen anything above a 9?
No.
And the higher the number, like 9, is the more expensive the paint is, and it's because the pigment that they've used in it is very expensive. So titanium white, etc., they're series 1. That's the cheapest that you can get, and then it goes up and up and up and up. There's usually always something that you can use in exchange for the series 9 ones. But I particularly like this cadmium red dark, so splashed out for it. Series 9.
Generally, anything with cadmium in it is
it's expensive, isn't it? So just drop a little bit of this liquid gold into our centres. Wipe that off and come back and just pull it out to give a bit of shade into some of these petals. Still try and leave a line of that red so you can see where it's originated from, and it gives a more definite. Let's just shade in it. I put a very, very thin coat on, and you can see it wants to dry on me, even with the longer opening time. Okay, I've got like that. So there's probably some areas that we really need to hit with a heavy spot of white, where the excuse me, where the light would really be. So I would say there is fair enough for a highlight. I'd say here also. Here where it just naturally looks like it needs one. Probably not so much there because that's sort of in his shadow really, so probably down to about here. Okay. I think we're motoring along quite well. Really? Probably time to put the greenery in, really, I would have thought. What do you think, Mr. H? What do you reckon?
I think you're probably right as usual.
I can't see what it looks like on the camera though. Does it look okay? Let's put a bit of that back into there. Okay, so greens. Green, green, green. Where is my green? This is the Golden Open Sap Green hue, which is the only green I've got because really you can mix greens. You should be mixing greens. So let's just tackle the greenery.